Last week, Gene Gibson was serving a 7-year jail sentence over the death of 21-year-old Josh Warneke in Broome. His lawyers argued their client didn't understand the court process because of a cognitive impairment and poor English. His first language is the traditional Western Desert language of Pintupi. The case has prompted calls for a change in how Aboriginal people are treated in WA's justice system. Claire Moody reports from Perth.
After nearly 5 years behind bars, Gene Gibson walked into the sunshine from Perth's Casuarina prison today.
We welcome today's unanimous decision of the Court of Appeal to overturn Gene Gibson's conviction for manslaughter.
WA's Court of Appeal confirmed there'd been a miscarriage of justice and his conviction over the death of this man, 21-year-old Josh Warneke, be set aside.
It's important to note that there are no winners in this matter, though. Gene has been in custody since he was arrested on the evening of 16th of August 2012 at the remote community of Kirakara in the Kimberley. He was 21 when he was arrested. He's now almost 26.
It took just 3 days for the court to make its decision following a hearing last week when Gene Gibson's mother, Alamy, told 7:30 her son was innocent.
My son, he don't hurt anybody. He's only just harmless young fella.
Harmless young fella.
He don't used to look for fights.
Back in 2011, Gene Gibson was the front man for a band from the remote Kirakura community on the WA Northern Territory border.
Just that raw talent to be able to communicate through music, even though we were speaking different languages, was extraordinary.
Ewan Buckley, who runs a charity that encourages musical endeavour in Aboriginal communities, toured with the band in Western Australia's Pilbara and couldn't believe when Gene Gibson was arrested.
Oh, dumbfounded, extremely surprised, and I have to say, disbelief. I could not possibly imagine that this young, shy, gentle, small man would be capable of a brutal murder like that.
Gene Gibson was charged 2 years after Josh Warneke's body was found bashed at the side of the road in Broome in 2010. But the case was flawed from the start. The original charge of murder was downgraded after it emerged that police hadn't provided a qualified interpreter when interviewing Gibson, who's since been found to have a cognitive impairment. How would you sum up how this man has been treated by WA's justice system?
I think Gene's treatment has been profoundly unjust, right from the outset. Our system failed to protect him and it failed to recognise his vulnerabilities as an impaired person.
The case was investigated by the state's Corruption and Crime Commission and the West Australian Police. 3 out of the 11 officers involved are facing disciplinary charges.
Both of those reviews helped focus the spotlight on Gene's case and his incarceration, and they both provided the catalyst for the bringing of this appeal.
Even the victim's mother, Ingrid Bishop, made clear she didn't believe Gibson killed her son and has publicly supported the push for an appeal.
Blind Freddie can see that there is some significant issues in regard to the sentencing of Gene Gibson.
And that was pretty much the sentiment during the appeal here. Gibson's lawyers told the court that their client didn't have the cognitive ability or the language skills to understand what was going on. It's also notable that 2 incriminating witnesses have changed their story since Gibson's plea of guilty.
Those 2 young fellas can blame him for no reason. Just because Gene, he don't understand everything. They've been put Gene in the trouble.
The bungled case has raised questions over how Gene Gibson was dealt with by police and the justice system as a whole.
It was a multifaceted failure in the justice system. We played a part in that, and I deeply regret that, and it's concerning to me that someone obviously has spent a long time in prison for a crime that they didn't commit.
And there have been calls for the case to prompt change.
Western Australia needs to introduce practical safeguards, both at police interview and court processes. Examples would include independent support people, such as are in place already in other jurisdictions in Australia, both in police interview and court, and also communication intermediaries, which are also used in other jurisdictions.
Attention now turns to who killed Josh Warneke. Police have already launched a fresh investigation.
We intend to give this every effort that we can, so the full effort of the Special Crime Squad.
Josh Warneke's mother, Ingrid Bishop, attended the appeal but wouldn't be interviewed. She said in a statement that Gibson's release was one of the most profound moments of her life.
Josh and Gene have never met, but their lives are now intertwined. We wish to acknowledge, in that regard, Joshua's mother, Ingrid Bishop, who has publicly supported our client's cause, and we hope in the future she obtains the justice she and her family deserve.